Hi, folks. Sorry about that. If you're seeing this, it's because I had a Zoom failure here, and now I'm recording where I left off. And so you'll get two video links, and this will be the second part. The key on the small recovery business side is to think about where we are with respect to uh, the evolution of those businesses that were open in 2020, in January 2020, and are closed as of the end of the year. We don't know ultimately why those businesses are not showing any economic activity. The supposition is that they're not showing economic activity because they are closed for one of two reasons. Permanently closed because they can't stay in business, temporarily closed due to social restrictions, or otherwise they would be open. It'll take us probably a couple of years to sort out whether or not we are going to see any data on which one's permanently closed. It'll take some time to see payroll tax submissions, business license renewals or not, and the changes of new businesses coming online. But ultimately, these numbers of businesses closed in California are a reflection primarily of social restrictions, and whether or not they're permanent or not is one of the big questions. Things to think about is if you have winery tasting rooms, if you have restaurants, hotels, how at threat are those businesses to remain open, not so much now because of social restrictions, but actually 2 or 3 years from now. That's the big key. It's not so much now because there's so many different angles on why these businesses are closed, but really, will they stay open? How will prices locally change as a result of having fewer small businesses, specifically in things like restaurants, retail, and events? And then if the cost of operation increased, is that a further threat for businesses to remain open? And you better believe it is. So that's something we're also watching in terms of whether or not we see more business taxes come out of the Biden White House and whether that then dribbles down into state tax and ultimately where we see the cost of doing business in California go. To wrap up, I'm going to show you the population components. We just got these data in December about how the population of places like Sierra County are evolving. Here is births in Sierra County, relatively low, but the nice thing is that deaths are relatively low. They unfortunately, in some cases, outweigh the number of births because these areas are getting older. More rural areas in California are getting a little bit more aged over time. But the migration patterns have been a mix. So this is the net foreign inbound, meaning if those green bars are positive, that is more people coming from other countries to live locally than going to other countries to live. And this is movement toward the other parts of the United States. And you can see that toward the beginning of the Great Recession, we saw more people leaving Sierra County. Then we saw a little bit of basically stability. And then over the last few years, we've seen some people leave. And that's led to relatively stable but slowly falling population over the last 10 years or so in Sierra County. And it's something to watch. These numbers are not huge because Sierra County is not a gigantic place, but it is just something to watch that slow devolution of the population, while some of it might be unfortunately natural, is going to start affecting school attendance, local spending, local sales taxes, local property taxes. Those kind of things are the things to watch from both a private sector and public sector standpoint as the population slowly evolves one way or the other. But keep your mind and your eyes on these data to think about that kind of thing. In terms of what to watch, we should be seeing low interest rates continue. The new presidential regime is not going to change that. We're expecting economic growth to be the main reason why interest rates would pick up. But interest rates are such an integral part of our lives about businesses expanding, getting back to square, what the cost of remaining in business might be if borrowing is part of that, and also our households and their ability to use credit markets. Home prices look pretty good for the next year. One of the things we're watching is the movement, like I said earlier, urban to suburban to rural. Will we see that pattern continue? And is it actually a phenomenon that's a general phenomenon? The recovery and how split it is another big thing to watch from a policy standpoint. The Biden White House is going to be very concerned about equity issues, and that could lead to higher tax rates, more social assistance programs. Hopefully it'll lead to governmental investment parallel, but assume the cost of doing business is going to rise and the cost of living in California is going to rise as a result of trying to provide more equity for folks that have suffered a little bit more than others in this recession. And it might be that in our urban areas, we see more of that change than any place else. On the public sector standpoint, the state level is actually doing a little bit better than we expected. So the California budget looks better than what we thought it would be 6 months ago. It's still not great going forward the next couple of years, and cities and counties are still waiting for relief that is, let's say, not CARES Act relief, which is more or less a pass-through to help people in the here and the now. Cities and counties have lost revenues. For places like Sierra County, the damage is probably not as bad, but it's something that as time moves on and we don't see economic recovery and don't see people traveling and coming to places like Sierra County and leaving their money there, that's something to watch. And that challenge going forward is a key one. But the key challenge ultimately is how we manage debt. This is true at the federal level. This is true at the household level, and how that starts to affect inflation, our general movements around the world with respect to trade and ultimately interest rates, and how that starts to dribble down all the way to just basic business decision making. And that's the critical factor. All these sort of boil into how our business is going to turn the corner and really, from an economic development standpoint, get through this period and actually continue to grow. So folks, I apologize for the loss of Zoom on this one. If you have any questions as a result of watching these videos or things you were thinking about, please email me. I'm going to send you an email. You're getting this link as a result of me sending you an email with the video links and ultimately with my contact information to email me if you had a question and we couldn't quite get to it. I will take care of you right away. That's also my Twitter handle is @Bobby7007. So have a great year. Thank you so much for coming today and tolerating the technological issues. Take care and stay safe.